Welcome to News Unbox Updates. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more. Breaking updates. President Donald Trump's second term has been marked by an aggressive and often controversial use of tariffs as a central tool of foreign policy, signaling a dramatic shift from previous administrations' approaches to international trade. The administration's strategy aimed to protect American industries, such as steel and manufacturing, from foreign competition, while also using tariffs as leverage to pressure other nations into negotiating more favorable trade deals for the United States. To justify these sweeping tariffs, the Trump administration relied on the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977, or IEEPA. This law grants the president broad authority to regulate international commerce after declaring a national emergency, originally intended for situations like terrorism or hostile foreign actions. President Trump invoked IEEPA for a wide range of issues, from persistent trade deficits with countries like China to the flow of illicit drugs across borders, effectively bypassing Congress and acting unilaterally to impose new economic measures. Critics, including lawmakers and legal scholars, argued that this interpretation stretched the law's original intent. They contended that IEEPA was designed for genuine national emergencies, not for routine trade disputes or economic disagreements with allies and rivals. Despite the controversy, the aggressive tariff strategy did bring short-term gains for certain American industries, especially those that had long struggled to compete with cheaper imports. Some factories saw a boost in production, and workers in sectors like steel and aluminum celebrated new job opportunities. However, the benefits were not universal. Many American farmers, particularly those exporting soybeans and other crops, faced devastating retaliatory tariffs from trading partners, leading to financial uncertainty and hardship in rural communities. Consumers across the country also felt the impact, as higher tariffs on imported goods led to rising prices at the grocery store and beyond, straining household budgets and fueling debates about the true cost of protectionist policies. The legal debate over the administration's use of IEEPA soon escalated, setting the stage for a major Supreme Court challenge that would test the limits of presidential power in economic policy. Through it all, the Trump administration remained steadfast, framing these bold actions as essential steps to make America great again and restore the nation's strength and influence on the global stage. On January 21, 2026, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that President Trump's use of IEEPA to impose broad tariffs was an unconstitutional overreach. The majority opinion clarified that IEEPA was never intended for managing trade deficits or routine economic competition but for true, national emergencies. The court reaffirmed Congress's constitutional authority over trade, warning that the executive cannot unilaterally set trade policy. This decision invalidated the legal basis for existing tariffs under IEEPA, forcing the administration to seek new strategies. The ruling is a significant check on presidential power, prioritizing constitutional principles over short-term economic concerns. The Supreme Court's decision came as President Trump revived his controversial plan to purchase Greenland, framing it as a national security issue. Denmark and Greenland firmly rejected the proposal, which was widely seen as a diplomatic overreach. In response, the administration threatened new tariffs on Denmark and key European nations, explicitly tying trade sanctions to the Greenland deal. The court's ruling immediately nullified this strategy, as the threatened tariffs relied on IEEPA authority. Without the legal power to declare a national emergency over Greenland, the administration lost its main leverage. The decision forced a complete re-evaluation of the Greenland Plan and challenged the idea that economic pressure could justify territorial ambitions. The administration's approach was left adrift, stripped of its enforcement mechanism. European leaders swiftly condemned Trump's tariff threats over Greenland, viewing them as economic coercion and a threat to the post-war order. The EU prepared a coordinated response, including steep counter-tariffs targeting key American industries. The Supreme Court's decision brought relief in Europe, but underlying tensions persisted. European leaders see the ruling as a temporary reprieve, not a permanent solution, and are pushing for greater strategic autonomy. The episode has reinforced Europe's resolve to act as a unified bloc and reduce reliance on the US for economic and security stability. Moving forward, Europe will seek to de-escalate the crisis while building its own economic defenses. The Greenland incident has eroded trust in the transatlantic alliance, making future cooperation more challenging. Rebuilding that trust will be a long and difficult process. The Supreme Court's ruling sent shockwaves through global markets, initially calming fears of a US-EU trade war. Businesses reliant on transatlantic supply chains welcomed the stability, but uncertainty about future US trade policy remains. The decision creates a policy vacuum, as the administration's main tool for imposing tariffs is now off the table. Industries previously targeted by tariffs, like automakers and farmers, benefit from their removal, while protected sectors face renewed competition. The ruling may ease inflationary pressures by lowering consumer prices on imports. However, fundamental disagreements over trade and security persist, and the conflict is far from resolved. The world economy remains in suspense, awaiting the next move from Washington. The Supreme Court has changed the rules, but not the underlying tensions. In the wake of the Supreme Court's ruling, the Trump administration is scrambling to salvage its trade agenda. The White House signaled it would seek alternative legal avenues, including working through Congress to authorize new tariffs. This approach faces political hurdles, as building support in a divided Congress will be challenging. The administration may also turn to other trade laws, like Section 232 or Section 301, but these have narrower applications and stricter requirements. Diplomatic efforts continue, but without the threat of tariffs, leverage is diminished. The administration is likely to frame the court's decision as judicial overreach, rallying public support for its trade agenda. The coming weeks will test the administration's ability to adapt to this major legal setback. The Supreme Court's decision stands as a landmark statement on the separation of powers enshrined in the U.S. Constitution, reaffirming the foundational principle that no single branch of government should dominate the others. This ruling is not just a legal technicality. It is a powerful reminder of the careful balance the framers intended. By limiting the executive's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEPA, the court has reasserted Congress's constitutional authority over trade and national emergencies. This decision sends a clear message that the president cannot unilaterally wield broad powers without meaningful oversight from the legislative branch, especially in matters that impact the nation's economy and foreign relations. The ruling raises the bar for declaring emergencies, making it more difficult for future presidents to bypass Congress. Instead, it encourages a more collaborative approach, where the executive and legislative branches must work together to address complex national challenges, ensuring that emergency powers are not abused for political gain. It challenges lawmakers to reclaim their constitutional responsibilities and engage more actively in shaping trade policy. This decision could inspire Congress to take a more assertive role in oversight, debate, and the crafting of laws that affect the country's direction. The decision will be studied as a pivotal moment in the ongoing debate over the balance of power in American government. Legal scholars and students alike will analyze its implications for years to come, as it sets a precedent for how far executive authority can reach. It underscores the judiciary's essential role as a check on executive overreach, reminding all branches that the courts are guardians of constitutional boundaries. While the administration may view the decision as an obstacle to swift action, the ruling ultimately demonstrates the constitutional system at work, where power is shared, debated, and limited to protect democracy. The case sparks a national conversation about the proper scope of presidential authority, inviting citizens, lawmakers, and legal experts to reflect on how best to preserve the delicate balance that defines American government. The Supreme Court's decision forces the U.S. to reconsider its global trade strategy at a critical crossroads. This landmark ruling not only limits the executive branch's emergency tariff powers, but also signals a new era in how America approaches its economic relationships with the world. The implications are far-reaching, touching every sector from agriculture to technology, and prompting urgent questions about the nation's role in the global marketplace. With emergency tariff powers curtailed, the nation must choose between persisting with protectionism or pivoting toward more collaborative trade policies. Lawmakers and business leaders alike are now grappling with the challenge of balancing domestic interests with the demands of a rapidly changing global economy. The stakes are high, as every decision could impact jobs, prices, and America's influence abroad. A protracted battle with Congress over tariffs could lead to legislative gridlock and instability, harming both the U.S. and its partners. Such uncertainty may discourage investment, disrupt supply chains, and erode trust among international allies. The risk of economic stagnation looms if consensus cannot be reached. The ruling opens the door for a broader debate about what kind of trade policy best serves America's interests in the 21st century. This is a pivotal moment for policymakers to reimagine trade agreements that reflect modern realities, including the rise of digital commerce and the need for resilient supply chains. This could lead to more nuanced agreements addressing digital trade, labor rights, and environmental standards. There is growing momentum to ensure that future deals not only boost economic growth, but also protect workers and the planet, making trade policy more inclusive and sustainable. America's economic power is now more closely tied to its legal and constitutional principles than ever before. The checks and balances enshrined in the Constitution are shaping the nation's ability to adapt to global challenges, reinforcing the importance of rule of law in economic decision-making. The world is watching to see if the U.S. can forge a coherent, reliable path forward. Allies and competitors alike are closely monitoring America's next moves, knowing that its choices will reverberate across the global economy. The choices made now will shape America's economic future and global standing for years to come. As the nation stands at this turning point, the direction it takes will determine not only its prosperity, but also its leadership on the world stage.